That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about X, the 8th film directed by Ty West, which just premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival and is being released courtesy of A24 on March 18th, 2022.
That made me think of the seasons of SEX.
The Great Eartha Kitt in Friday Foster, SEX.
Ty West.
Ty West. My favorite Ty West film is probably The House of the Devil, his 2009 film. But you've seen quite a few of his other features. I know you've seen The Sacrament. I know you've seen Cabin Fever 2.
Yes.
I know you probably don't remember it, but the Innkeepers with Pat Healy. Even back to his debut, which was The Roost, which starred somebody from the same town I grew up in.
What? Mm-hmm. Who's that?
I'm forgetting his name, but he was my sister's swimming coach.
What?
We saw a film he directed called
Oh, yes.
Pollywog.
That's right. I remember that.
Yes. It's been 7 years since Ty West has directed a feature, his last one being In a Valley of Violence, which is entertaining, starring Ethan Hawke and John Travolta. And he's done dabbled a lot in a lot of different television series since then. I think he directed a couple episodes of them. But here we are. Now he's part of the A24 crowd.
I was interested in seeing it because you had explained his work. So, like a talented filmmaker, the basic premise of the story I thought was exciting. And there is a lot about this film I did think was interesting.
Same. Mm-hmm.
So the basic story, it's 1979, rural Texas. There is a very old, decrepit couple living on a farm.
Howard and Pearl.
And on this farm, they have a boarding house. So it would appear they rent it out to people. And they have rented it out to a guy who I thought looked like Luke Wilson.
I think he looks like Don Johnson, but that is Martin Henderson from Devil's Knot, is what I remember him from.
What's the character's name?
Wayne.
Wayne. Mm-hmm. So we're introduced to Wayne because he is he's making pornography. So we meet him with 5 other people, and they're on their way to this boarding house to film porn. When they get there, it's obvious that this old man doesn't take too kindly to the likes of this group of people. But he's like, go ahead, do what you gotta do, but I have my eye on you. So they start filming. But things take a turn when the director of the film,
RJ, played by Owen Campbell,
who has his girlfriend with him,
Lorraine, played by Jenny Ortega,
who's doing like the sound. So up until like the halfway point, she's presented as somewhat of a prude when she decides she wants to be in the film. Because there's a really cool scene where they're all together relaxing after a hard day's work when she's sort of being curious, and the 2 other women, what are their characters' names?
Brittany Snow plays Bobby-Lynne, and Mia Goth, who's kind of the lead, plays Maxine.
Those 2 women sort of educate her on like sexual freedom, and I actually thought that scene was very good.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot too.
And what they say to her is enough to get her to participate in this film, and her director boyfriend becomes very upset. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's important to know the film opens with the sheriff going to this house during daylight hours, and it's clear an incident occurred, like a massacre, because we see blood everywhere, and the reaction of the law enforcement agents is like, whoa.
Carnage everywhere.
Carnage. So we know something happens in this house. When the group of people drive up to the farmhouse, they stop at a gas station, and the vibe there is very much like every other movie like this, like the, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hill, all these kind of movies. So we know something is going to happen. And then we were at the premiere, and it was the director who spoke.
Ty West.
Saying that, like there are spoilers and this film doesn't take you where you think it will. So then I thought, these creepy old people are not involved in this carnage. It's going to be this director boyfriend. But then he's upset and tries to leave. He hops in the car and tries to drive off. But the old lady is like in the driveway blocking him. And he gets out because he's thinking maybe she's lost or confused. She makes a pass at him, trying to have sex with him, and he's all grossed out. And that old lady brutally murders him. Mm-hmm.
All to Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper blaring on the vehicle's radio.
And that's the halfway point, and that's when everything sort of changes into like a pretty standard like slasher film because that old lady and her husband kill everyone except Mia Goth's character. She's the last one standing. The old couple, the old man has a heart attack because he's like scared and then or startled, and Mia's character kills the old lady. The end.
And it's revealed that Maxine is the daughter of this pastor whose sermon is on loop apparently in every television.
We
in
need
this
to
small
talk
Texas
about
town.
that because I felt like that was an interesting plot point. Maybe I should go through my notes and you can pipe in. Okay, so one of the first sort of like gruesome things we see is as the group of people are driving, traffic is backed up because a semi-truck hits a cow. And I thought that looked really cool.
It did look really good.
Which character says it's possible to make a good dirty movie?
The director, RJ, played by Owen Campbell.
So I thought the film, like the screenplay, like it feels self-aware.
Yes.
In a way that I think would lend itself to a humorous vibe. But then the humor in the film is very light and very sporadic, and in spots or with characters, namely the old lady, that didn't quite work for me.
Yes, and okay, one of the things I dislike the most about Ty West's last film, In a Valley of Violence, is there's a supporting character that's played for straight laughs, and I thought kind of ruined the film. This doesn't quite do that, but yeah, I agree. It's a major spoiler is that Mia Goth is also playing Pearl. So she's an old lady makeup, and it's been revealed that Ty West filmed a prequel in secret called Pearl, so it'll be focused on her. So yes, that is consistently a distraction. And Stephen Ure from the Hobbit films plays Howard, the old man, and he's older, but you can still tell that's somebody in old age makeup. And to me, he looked like Danny Houston in 30 Days of Night.
I thought the old man fared better as far as makeup and voice.
I agree.
But the old lady was so distracting from the jump.
It made this film the comedy. It reminded me a lot of this 1970s movie called Touch of Satan, which there's a great Mystery Science Theater treatment of. Again, with a very similar setup about this old woman that is a killer that this family's hiding in the house, kind of. And there are several scenes because when Martin Henderson gets killed, she's poking him with a pitchfork. That very much reminds me of that movie.
When the group of people get to the house, they've a long day of traveling. They're in this van that I'm assuming did not have air conditioning. I'm assuming it's quite warm outside. And then after they get settled, they just start filming. And all I could think of is I didn't see anyone take a shower. I didn't see anyone brush their teeth.
It was the 70s. We were...
Ugh. Okay, so one element of the story that I thought was really interesting is before Mia's character, the main character, starts filming her scene, she goes out to sort of relax, I guess. And she goes out to the lake and we can see someone's following her, which ends up being the old lady. And what is Mia's character's name?
Maxine.
Maxine gets out into is it a lake or a river, do you think?
It looks like a lake to me. But
she gets out on this lake.
It seems like they're on a swamp.
Oh, sure.
Swamplands, yeah.
There's a really, really cool shot, like an aerial view of Maxine in the lake just floating. And I'm afraid of water anyway, especially water you can't see in. And of course, there's an alligator in the water. And there's this super cool shot of this huge-ass alligator approaching her. And then she gets out of the water just in time, not even knowing that an alligator was stalking her. So then, of course, that alligator makes an appearance again.
Yes, which makes me feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is obviously a reference point for this film. And then, so Ty West must also be a fan of Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive, that film about the alligator under the house.
I thought...
with Kyle, what's her name? From Halloween and the...
Richards?
Yeah.
Oh. So I thought that was really cool. And then there is a scene where the alligator eats someone, the other lady, the
Brittany
blonde.
Snow.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool.
Yes, but once the film reaches that slasher point, it becomes kind of, and then there were none. And then we're just kind of going through everybody's kills. And that's when I think it loses some of its flavor.
Yes, I agree. The van they're driving has a big sign on it that says plowing service. I thought that was funny.
There are a lot of really nice touches about this.
So when the old lady, so right before things get hairy, Maxine is sort of wandering around and she sees the old lady and the old lady invites her into the house. Or no, she actually walks. Maxine sees the old lady and is looking for her, and then this girl thinks it's a good idea to walk into this house when they first pull up and Luke Wilson walks up to the door, that old man comes out guns blazing. So I don't know why this girl thought she could just walk into these people's house, but she does.
But they saw that Howard left. He drives off.
That's a good point. But the old lady invites her to have some lemonade, and it's kind of creepy. And then the old lady kind of makes a pass at Maxine, so Maxine's kind of creeped out.
And that's where we start this kind of twinning motif with the two women, because that scene where they're pouring the lemonade, there's also a lemonade scene in the porno film.
Yeah. Well,
which
you
I
should
think,
talk about the twinning, because there are a lot of really, what I thought were really cool shots and edits of like doubling up.
Which, Psycho is directly referenced because of the MacGuffin, I think to throw us off too a little bit, but Hitchcock was notorious for his doubling and twinning, of course, and like the sisters in the Psycho film. But because the film, I wish it had leaned more into this kind of taboo topic of
Geriatric sex,
because part of my problem is the way that these two old people do eventually have sex seems completely unrealistic with how human bodies work. But this old woman Pearl, who used to be a dancer, and it's very clear that she is kind of bemoaning the fact that she can't have sex with her husband physically because he is unable to, and kind of ruining. It's clear she made sacrifices, right? And she didn't really live the life she wanted. And these young people, including Jenny Ortega's character and Mia Goth and Brittany Stewart, talking about kind of throwing off the yoke of the expectation that they grew up under and live in enjoying their lives.
The old lady, because, she makes a pass at Maxine, then she sees, she's like lurking around the boarding house in the barn where they're having sex or wherever, and she sees people having sex. She's all horny. Then she goes to her husband and says, like, have sex with me, and he says, I can't, my heart can't take it. So she seems super disappointed. And I just thought the combination of this old lady kind of being like horny, but like in a sort of, the way it's presented combined with the makeup and the voice, it was giving me Nutty Professor to the Clumps, like the grandma.
Sure.
I was getting that vibe, but not nearly as funny as that character, but just kind of like, it's kind of outlandish, but...
I was thinking Winona Ryder when she's in old age makeup and Edward Scissorhands at the end.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just... I think that the sexual component is a little bit off. Again, Bruce LaBruce did a movie called Gerontophilia, which about a young man that's like sexually attracted to this much older man, which I thought had a more realistically dealt, for Bruce LaBruce especially, like bodies and how they work at that advanced age, especially for women too.
I also think hearing about, being told that this film is not going to be what we think it is, which actually this film ended up being exactly what I thought it was going to be. I was disappointed that it didn't lean into the geriatric sex. Like I almost wish yes. That would have been the angle I think would make more sense.
You know what else it doesn't lean into as much as I had hoped it would? We have Scott Mescudi.
Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi is playing the lead in this porno film, who's apparently very well endowed. And you see a shadow sequence of it, but it's so exaggerated.
I'm very familiar with large penises, and the way his looked, because they sort of do it like in a shadowy... They use shadows to show the audience. That shit looks... I mean, it's just not possible.
That was along the exploitation lines of something like Welcome Home, Brother Charlie.
Yes.
About the black man's killer penis that...
Well, because it almost makes him look sick. Like he has like a deformity, or like his scrotum there's something wrong, because it's just like, there's no way. And then also, if his penis were that large,
he wouldn't... Not
being erect, those ladies would be destroyed, especially when he has sex with the prudish girl. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would sound like she's dying. Right?
Oh, that just reminded me of that movie with John Cassavetes. Is it The Incubus?
Oh.
Where those women are being raped to death by that demon. Anyway. And then right afterwards, he's like... Mescudi is in those white boxer shorts in the swamp, and it's like, well...
The old lady, there's a scene where she's getting pretty. and like for anyone who has older skin, especially around the eyes, it's very delicate, and trying to put like eyeshadow on older eyes is I thought that scene actually looked really cool. And then she is brushing her hair, which is very fine, very delicate. It's like baby's breath. And then she's using like this boar bristle brush. And I thought the sound editing in this film was excellent.
Yeah,
and I thought the score, like the music we hear was very good. Mm-hmm. And then hearing her like run that brush through her hair, the scariest thing about this movie was her brushing that hair.
Sure.
Because I'm like, she's ripping all that shit out.
Again, those scenes are very similar to ones eerily similar to Touch of Satan.
Yes.
I am telling you.
Yes.
It was shot by Eliot Rockett. Who I'm forgetting what else
After the old lady kills the first guy, the director, she does a dance. And I thought that was the only moment looking at the old lady, because there's like red light that's showing. It's red light from the brake light of the van. And then the angle that we're looking at her, and she has her mouth open, and you see these old like kernels of teeth. That vibe worked very well for me.
Well, and then it gets to this point where she's like wanting to be penetrated but can't be, both from her husband and the men she's hitting on. So she becomes the penetrator.
Yes.
With all the stabbing and decapitating.
So that killing worked for me, but after that, like when she kills Luke Wilson, she like pokes his eyes out with a pitchfork because he's looking through like a glory hole, and then she comes around to check that he's dead, and she kind of just pokes him. Mm-hmm. And then again, I thought, oh, you're like, this is kind of like trying to be funny or cute. Sure. Then when she lures. Well, this was a question we had, because the blonde, who I really liked, what's the actor's name?
Brittany Snow.
I liked her. Have I seen her in something?
Yeah, she's been in a ton of stuff.
I really liked her. You know that TV show Alice?
From the 70s?
With the ladies in the diner?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the star of that?
Linda Lavin?
Is it? Yes. The lady who would say, "Kiss my grits," the tall blonde. Oh, she was giving me that. But I really like Brittany Snow, you said?
Yes, she's usually not that blonde, I don't think. And she was in the Pitch Perfect films.
Oh, was she? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I really liked her presentation. But her character gets killed because she tries to go and help the old lady. And even that scene was very funny. And I think Brittany Snow's sarcasm and bitchiness worked very well. Mm-hmm. But then the old lady kind of like is rude to her and then pushes her in the water, and that's when the alligator gets her ass. But then the old lady says like, bitch. And again, I thought that was so like, I don't think that was a well-placed, I don't know. I just didn't think that
it was taking you out, you're saying.
I didn't think that the old lady who looked like someone in old lady makeup with a very young voice needed to be funny as well.
I did really like Mia Goth, and I think she's a very captivating screen presence. She reminds me of early Shelley Duvall, like in her early work with Robert Altman. Like if you look up Shelley Duvall in Brewster McCloud or Nashville, very striking. And she's British and Brazilian. And she was in 2 of 2018's best films, High Life and the Suspiria remake.
I really liked her hair too. Mm-hmm. Whomever, and also shout out to whomever did Kid Cudi's afro, because I thought it looked really good.
Yes, but again, the reveal about her being the daughter of this pastor.
Oh, let's talk about that. So yes, we see when they first like stop at a gas station, which is much earlier in the day. We see the video of the preacher man on the television in the gas station. Mm-hmm. Then we see it playing in the old people's house at a point. Then at the very end of the film, late at night, we see the same footage, and it's the same words, so it's just on a loop. I thought that was really weird. And I guess because there's so much being thrown in here, then it's like, yeah, now you're making Maxine the missing daughter of this preacher man. It's just a lot. Yeah,
and I think, and you were saying there's kind of some unevenness with her characterization. Like in the early scene in the gas station, she's talking kind of like an airhead, and then she gets kind of a little mini monologue where she sounds actually brilliant.
Yes.
But I almost think that's because she has transcended where she's come from, but she's playing a different role as this wannabe porn star. And also, she's a big cokehead. That's also, you see her doing that a lot in there.
Speaking of doing a lot, so Kid Cudi's character tries to help the old man find his wife, but the old man has every intention of killing him, which he does. But before that, Kid Cudi who he bonds with the old man by saying he's a Marine. He's a veteran. So he's kind of like, hey, I know you don't probably like me because I'm black because you're being rude to me, but like I'm a veteran as well. Kid Cudi's character finds like a VW bug that's been like submerged in the swamp. Mm-hmm. So are we supposed to think that these old people have killed other people this way?
Well, yeah, because there's somebody strung up in the basement.
No, the person who's strung up in the basement I thought was the director.
No, the director is still lying out there because... yeah, that's somebody else.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because I think...
Oh, well, that answers that question.
I think Mia Goth stumbles upon the director whose body is still there.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Another thing, another sequence I really liked once you kind of... And I think it is more reinforced when you know that Mia Goth is playing both these women. The old lady, Pearl, tries to shoot her in the end with this shotgun, which it's kind of funny too because she gets blown out the door with the kickback. But she ends up shooting the mirror that Mia Goth is standing in front of. Like she's destroyed the mirror image and maybe this kind of psychic connection and she also runs that old woman over, which is a good scene. But her last words to her, like, you're nothing, you're going to become me.
Yeah.
Like, this is also going to happen to you.
I think the battery is going to die, so we should wrap it up. What else do you have on your list?
Oh, for films about dealing with the making of pornography, it reminded me of this Richard Dreyfuss film from the 70s and Veronica Cartwright called Inserts, about a silent film star who... once the talkies start, can't make films anymore, so he has to turn to pornography. It's funny how porn seems to either be at the beginning or end phase of people's careers and how it's presented. But
what would you give this film?
And it was produced by Sam Levinson, who wrote the script for Adrian Lyne's new movie and is the
Deep Water.
Yeah, and is the creator of Euphoria and it's Barry Levinson's son. Yeah, he's got his hands all over. I did like this film. I wanted to like it more.
What would you give it?
3 out of 5.
I would give it 3 out of 5 as well. Thank you.